What is up, A-Team? Welcome back. Awesome here. Hope everyone's having an awesome day, or not, depending on where you're at, but I hope it's awesome. And yes, we're here to talk more about XRP, more about Ripple in the SEC case, because one of the biggest questions out there is, when is this case going to be over? Obviously, we heard from Brad Garlinghouse. We heard that the SEC case is over. But the one question out there for everyone is the SEC hasn't came out and said anything. And now you have a lot of people here in crypto, a lot of people here on X and across the whole spectrum of crypto content creation regarding Ripple, XRP, and everyone's out here telling you that the XRP case is going to come to an end. And then they start giving dates. And every time I go live, I constantly hear dates of when this is going to actually come to an end. And I guess I'm just here to tell everyone that no one has any idea when this case is actually going to officially come to an end. And sort of that's where I'm at right now is in regards to this Ripple SEC case. It says nearing conclusion. And one thing that we can say is that this has been an ongoing battle for quite some time. We did hear Brad Garlinghouse come out earlier this year and basically say that this has come to an end. So we can take that for what it is. I mean, we do think that the SEC and Ripple are coming close to an agreement as to what's going to happen moving forward. We do know that the SEC will drop its appeal, will do all this kind of stuff. But again, that's just words. We haven't actually seen any actions yet. And it says right here that the Ripple versus SEC case was long hailed as the catalyst that would propel XRP to new heights. That's obviously what a lot of us have been hearing. That's what a lot of us have been talking about. Even myself have talked about that being one of the catalysts for XRP, taking off. And it says, unfortunately for the bulls, that is exactly how it's panned out this far. It's even since Brad Garlinghouse announced the end of this, we have seen that the market has come down for XRP. So that is sort of a sad thing to see if you are totally on the side of XRP. I mean, obviously, we all want XRP to do very, very well. And you got to see right here that following this announcement, 48 hours after that announcement back on March 19th, we have lost over $11 billion in market capitalization, which is pretty crazy when you start to think about it. However, like I said, we do know that the SEC at some point is going to come to an agreement with Ripple. And it says right here on April 10th, which was literally about 4 days ago, it said the SEC and Ripple jointly filed to have its appeal against Ripple upheld, essentially nullifying it. That's kind of where it's come. They've come to an agreement that, hey, we want to actually put a pause to this appeal so we can actually come to the table and have a discussion about this. And that's kind of where this was at right here. It says Ripple Labs and U.S. Securities have jointly requested a pause to their respective appeals to finalize a potential settlement. So that right there is kind of the big thing for us, is that we do know that there's going to be some kind of settlement to this. We just don't know when. And so any influencer out there, content creator out there telling you a date as to when this is going to happen, I'm just here to tell you that don't listen to them, because no one knows actually when it's going to happen. And so until you actually hear it from the SEC themselves, Brad Garlinghouse or the SEC themselves on an exact date of when this is going to come through, then at that point we can actually make a determination as to this finally being dropped, a settlement coming in. And so I do want to just put that out there, because it's one of the biggest questions I have on the channel every time I go live is, when is the appeal going to end? Here's these dates. What do you think that the appeal is going to end on this date? Last time I actually heard of an appeal date coming to an end was back in May. But if you've been following XRP for quite some time, you know that dates have been thrown around all the time. We've been pushed along over and over and over again throughout the years of these dates as to when this appeal is going to end. I mean, no one knows. I just want to put out there, no one knows. And if someone's out there telling you that they know, I'm just going to call their bluff, because I just don't think it's going to, no one's going to know until this actually happens. And so I just wanted to put that out there. Again, I know that this is kind of like a focal point for a lot of people, because they want the catalyst, right? They want the XRP to go up in price exponentially. And although I do think that this is a catalyst for price, because we did see that when he made the announcement. I mean, we went up like almost 15-20% in a day off the announcement. We do know that that's a catalyst. So people are trying to hedge their bets on that. I just want to say, and maybe just put out some caution here, is that are you investing in XRP for the short-term gain on it, or are you investing in XRP for the long-term game? And if you're looking at it from the short-term game, it's going to be hard to actually judge when this is going to happen. But if you're investing in XRP for the long-term side of it, it doesn't really matter at that point when the settlement happens, because you're just trying to accumulate as much as possible during these times of accumulation. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it, is that I've been, picking up XRP throughout the years in hopes of the long-term game on it. I don't really care what happens in the short term. Again, I'm not day trading it as much as I was earlier on this year, but a majority of my crypto is on the long-term side of it, including XRP. So I don't care where the settlement is on this, because when it does happen, I just know that I'm going to obviously make out on it. And I think a lot of people here are feeling the same way here. And like it says right here, that the XRP case resolution isn't near. Experts warn XRP investors against unrealistic hopes. And so this is actually a really good article that came out about 8 hours ago. And I actually think that this is good for people to read, is that a lot of people have these unrealistic hopes that XRP is going to hit $7 off the announcement of this appeal. And I'm not saying that we can't hit $7. I just don't think the appeal is going to, just the end of the appeal with the SEC is going to get us to $7. It could definitely help be a catalyst towards that. But I think that we have to actually be realistic about where this is going. And although this is going to be great for XRP, I think that we need to chime it in here and just say, hey, I don't think it's going to get us to $7. Is it going to actually bring up our market, the market cap on this? Definitely probably will. But again, I think it's important that we keep talking about this. And a lot of content creators out there are basically still pushing hopium. And it's important to have some positivity out there, but let's be realistic. And so I just wanted to make this video to talk about how we need to be realistic about where this is going to go. And I think this is actually really great for crypto. I think it's going to be good for this appeal to come to an end here. And we do know that they're probably going to pay some kind of fine. And it just said right here that they obviously had money in escrow. We talked about this weeks ago when this came out here, that the how much is the U.S. government going to actually get from Ripple? They did put money over in the escrow account, which Brad Garlinghouse did come out here and say this in one of his tweets, that they put a money aside in their escrow account. It said, here's what's happening to the $125 million SEC fine. It says, as for the $125 million fine that the Ripple was meant to pay Gensler SEC as a fine instead of billions of dollars required by the SEC, the Ripple CEO said the company had put that sum in an escrow for the future payment. But now, as the situation has radically changed for the better, they are taking the most of these funds back, along with any earned interest. He also said that the SEC would still get about $50 million. So is that going to be actually paid in XRP? Is it going to be paid in US dollar? We don't know. I think a lot of people are out here speculating as this to get paid in XRP, so then it can be added to the crypto strategic reserves, which again would be fantastic, right? I mean, if this is actually paid to the government and it was then held by the government, that would be good for XRP holders. It would be good to add to the strategic reserves. I kind of like that idea. We don't know if that's actually going to happen here, but we do know that they're going to come to some resolution here. Again, the date is unknown, but I just wanted to sort of put this out there as to what's going to happen and be realistic about it. You can see right now that the current price is sitting around roughly $2.13 at the time of this filming. The $2 mark, anywhere from $2.25 to $2 mark, seems to be kind of the area for accumulation. We have hit this $2 mark 1, 2, 3, now 4 times through these dips since actually 5 times since December 2024. So, I mean, we're talking December, January, February, March. Now we're in April. So almost 4 to 5 months that we've hit this $2 mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? And that's actually a pretty good level right there. I mean, this $2 mark is holding up pretty good. And you can see right here that on this scale, a majority of XRP is actually held at almost $2.40 right here, which is where this red line's at. So this could potentially come back up to this 240 and hit some resistance right here, which again would be a nice little purchase at this moment if someone were to jump into it. If you got in here at the $1.60 marker and this thing went up to its current level, that'd be almost a 50% return on your investment. If you were to purchase this at the current price of where it's at and it were to go up to this, it'd be about roughly a 12%. So these are actually some pretty good gains. But again, what does it hit this anytime soon? Who knows? Who knows? I could say that yes, it's probably going to eventually go back up to some level of pricing here if the markets continue to move up. Obviously, the talk of tariffs and all the stuff that's out there scaring the markets play factor into this. But I do think that with an announcement of some kind of settlement and or a date would be fantastic. We would definitely probably exceed some of these levels here. But I just want to caution, there's no date out there. They haven't actually set a date. And I just want to make sure that people that are out there putting dates in your head just realize that nothing is actually confirmed out there. These are just speculations. It's all speculative. So just, again, trade with caution when it comes to that. So with all that, I just want to come out here and put realistic hopes into the A team out here on where we're at with this. We're going to continue to accumulate as much XRP as possible during these levels right here, because when the catalyst comes, we're going to be looking back going, thank God we actually bought into some of these areas here. Some people are very bearish on XRP. Some people believe that XRP is actually going to go lower than the 160. Some people are calling this to get back down to $1. But again, you had to decide what's best for you. I was accumulating back at the 30-cent mark. I accumulated into the 50 and the 60-cent mark to an average, making my average around the 35-cent mark range. And now we're at where we're at. So you have to decide whether XRP is a good option for you or not before you actually go in and put money into it. So do your own research on it. And, again, if you're here as a long-term investor, it shouldn't matter. If you're here as a short-term investor, obviously you're going to trade to the strengths of it. So with all that, let me know your thoughts down below. When do you actually think that this is going to come to an end? I just think that here in 2025, we're obviously going to hear some resolution here, and I hope it's actually sooner rather than later. Maybe May, somewhere in May would be a great time. That would be a nice turn in the market. But again, who knows? We don't know. So with all that, let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. With all said, we're out. Peace out, everyone.